So thank you very much for joining me. Today we have Professor Manuel Peréz García, who is tenured Associate Professor at the Department of History, School of Humanities at Shanghai Jiao Tong University in China. He is also Principal Investigator of the GESEM project, funded by the European Research Council Starting Grant Horizon 2020, and he's founder and director of the Global History Network in China. Professor Peréz García is the Editor-in-Chief for the Palgrave Macmillan book series, Palgrave Studies in Comparative Global History. He has also published 2 open access books within that book series called Global History and New Polycentric Approaches and Global History with Chinese Characteristics. Thank you, Professor Peréz García.
My pleasure to join this interview.
Thank you. So why did you choose to make these two books available on an open access basis?
Well, actually, open access is one of the priorities by big funding institutions for academic projects. So the European Research Council is not an exception on this. And one of the priorities for precisely for GESEM project, funded by the European Research Council Starting Grant, one of the main goals is to get our publications open access for the big audiences, not only academic audiences, but also to reach the non-specialized public. So it is actually to give an important deliverable for the whole society in general, which means that your research, your work should have a positive impact, an impact in general to the society in general. So that's why open access, like these 2 books and the series that I'm leading with my colleague Lucio de Sousa. So it is one of the priorities.
Great, thank you. So the European Research Council funded the open access fee here, or the book processing charge. How did you start working with the European Research Council?
Well, that was in 2000. Actually, I applied for a starting grant of the European Research Council for the call of 2015. So after following a very, as everybody knows, the ERC is a very demanding institution, and the process to successfully get the grant is very demanding. So after a year of evaluations and also going to the interview in Brussels, so it was, I successfully get the project, and from the very beginning I was aware about the potential and the scope of the open access publication. So actually it's one of the, in my belief, it is one of the most powerful, not very explored by the, let's say, the previous generation of scholars. Also the new generation is not very aware of this. It's a very powerful tool, and we need to use it to spread our work globally.
Thank you. So you mentioned that these books are part of the Palgrave Studies in Comparative Global History book series. How did that relationship come about? Did you choose Palgrave Macmillan first of all, or were you approached for this book series?
Well, actually, from the very beginning, I chose Palgrave Macmillan before getting the fund by the ERC. My first approach with Palgrave was in 2000, at the end of 2013-14. I was editing a different book. It was not open access. It was on China, Latin American, contemporary international relations and economics. And at that time, I didn't have any funding, but I noticed that of the potential of having a book open access. And then just at the moment of getting the funding by the ERC, I approached at that time at the Shanghai office in the Palgrave Macmillan branch in Asia was Miss Sarah Crowley-Bignot, and with her, it was with whom I started to let's say to get closer relation with Palgrave. We signed an agreement for a series of open access publications. So that's why it is not only accounting the book I edited with my colleague Lucio de Sousa and also my monograph, but also within HESEN project, we have a third open access monograph by Professor Bartolomé Juncasalilla. So this make a very, let's say, this boost the potential of our publications and also of HESEN project.
Thank you. And with these two books specifically, what were you hoping to achieve by publishing them? You've mentioned a wide readership, but what else?
Yes, it's a wide readership. Is one of course, counting not only specialized or academic public, but basically the main scope, because the series itself, the main strength is Asian studies, focusing mainly on China. China is still on the historical perspective, even to understand the current global affairs and the hegemonic role that China is playing today, and the rising economy of this big giant. So this series and also these books focusing on global history and China, the main goal I pretend to achieve is to, let's say, to continue permanently unveiling the history of China, which will also help us not only to apprehend and comprehend the past of China, but also basically to grasp the ideas and to understand the current role that China is playing globally in economics, politics, society, and also how that reach the social spectrum in general. And again, these books also stress the idea of interdisciplinarity. So the whole idea of this series and also of this open access book is to paint within a, if you allow me to use the metaphor, a wide canvas and interdisciplinary research to understand China in the different layers, economics, politics, history, culture. So that's why it's very, very important that the research and the output of this book reach a very wide academic and non-academic audience.
So you had very big hopes for these two books, by the sounds of it.
I hope so.
They were indeed published in 2018 and 2021 this year as well. So have you seen any benefits or any impact so far from publishing these books open access? Do you think open access helped?
Yeah, it helps basically, of course, on, let's say, on collective, if we can call it collective terms, to, you know, for the readership to, again, to get a better understanding on China, international relations, history, and the interactions with the West, Europe, Americas. But basically, the big hopes of these books is, again, to continue a better understanding of, or to grasp a still not very well-known aspect of China history and culture, and also to make a deep critique of the current system. So again, I mean that on collective terms, if you wish, but also on individual terms as a researcher. Of course, it definitely is a very, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's a very powerful tool to boost your academic profile. Also, it's very important that you see in the metrics. Of course, it's not a decisive factor, but it is very important how many people is downloading the books. And actually, for the last one of the global history with Chinese characteristics, at the moment, I think in less than 6-7 months, more than 12,000 downloads. So it is a very important factor to take into account. But basically, you know, that will, in a way, will make a kind of legacy of your work, which is very important. Again, to reach everybody, different audiences, different type of scholars from different nations, culture, and how the perception of the knowledge you are getting from China on your research and the interactions again with the Western countries. I guess that is very, very important to. And again, it's a very powerful tool and very good one, the open access.
Yeah, and I saw your 2018 title, Global History and New Polycentric Approaches, has almost reached 200,000 chapter downloads. So congratulations for that.
Yeah, no, that's good.
So do you have any tips for other authors? Like, how did you promote your book and your co-editors promote the other book?
Well, again, the promotion since digital humanities is also a very important variable in the whole equation for the spread and dissemination of your work. For the authors in general, I mean, to spread the book, of course, open access, and because everybody wants within a click in Google or in the website can very rapidly access to your work, but also in the different platforms like academia.edu, Facebook, Twitter. Of course, that is very important. Another very important issue is, again, the journal reviews. That basically, is the cornerstone for the dissemination of your work. There's still many journals, editors, even the senior or the previous generation. I can say that I belong to the young generation of historians, but the previous generation, since they have not adapted to the digital tools and this digital system, so they are not used to go beyond the print version of the book, which is also very important because it's very, to have the physically your book is much better than at the end. It has a special taste rather than the electronic book. But that kind of adaptation is not yet successfully reached the old generation or even the famous and very prestigious editors or journals, because at the end they want the physical or the print version of the book. So in a way, there is still a challenging work by Palgrave in general, but also other publishers to make aware of this important tool, the open access, and also to get this, for instance, the reviews of the books in the journal. So beyond having the physical book, of course, the physical book is important, and I like it very much. But there's still a work to do on the awareness of this tool.
Thank you very much. And I think the last question for today is, do you have any advice to others considering publishing their next book or chapter open access?
Well, on that particular, again, it is a very good tool. As I mentioned and I stressed several times, a very powerful one. But the downside of this picture, like when using this kind of technology, it is still very expensive. So if you don't have any important or very generous funding, like for instance, like the one I have, which unfortunately is finishing at the end of this year. So hopefully I will get new funding for next academic year. But if you don't have, again, this funding, it is very difficult for individual researchers to publish open access books or articles to spread the work for a very wide audience. So in this particular, the most important advice is that publishers, in this case Palgrave, they still need to negotiate with universities, faculties, libraries, because those should be big institutions, not individual researchers, should be those in charge of funding the open access publications. Again, I feel very fortunate to count with this very generous funding, but if I don't have it, then it's going to be very, very difficult to publish open access book and reach general audiences, because at the end, even with having open access books, the one who is always clicking and seeing your book is at the end, and it's very, very specialized audience. So we need to break down that barrier and again think or making a very precise marketing strategy to reach audiences beyond academic circles. So I think that would be my my most important advice on this particular.
And we know that some of our authors actually do talk to their institutions directly, and they do manage to get some funding as well. So that's another reason.
Yeah, I mean, that is one thing again, but the other is that people that know about the potential of open access, many of those, they get the barrier of having not enough funding, and on the other hand, many, I can assure you, senior but non-senior researchers, they don't know much about the meaning of open access. So there are two aspects, two the very important factors to tackle. First is the promotion, to make people know about the potential of open access. So that will require a very constant, promotion through flyers, getting in touch with main deans or, let's say, executive board of faculties and universities. And on the other hand, when people know about it, is again through the very institutional level, libraries, universities, and faculties, departments, to somehow develop tools to get the funding beyond the individual pockets. So that is, again, two very important aspects to work: promotion and on the other hand, funding, but not by individuals, but institutions.
Great, thank you. So it sounds like if you have the funding, you would definitely publish open access again yourself.
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you for your time today.
My pleasure.